Greetings, my friends. Now, the organization I founded, the Sect of the Horn God, was founded out of basically, it is a response to two different things. One, I noticed when I first got into, let's say, the satanic cyber world, if you will, online networking Satanists, I noticed how, let's say, petty a lot of those individuals were, or still are to a certain degree. And I figured, how are you going to attract anyone into Satanism if they're new to it and you instantly attack them? That was very common. I remember one individual stated, "Satan means adversary, so I'm adversarial." When I look at this person and basically think, no, you were picked on in high school and now you're seeking vengeance. So the organization was founded in response to this. I wanted to create a educational, if you will, foundation, more like a university than a church, where newbies could come, and of course people who were already established on the path, where people could come and feel comfortable. I mean, I have no plans on holding anyone's hand and guiding them along, all right? And we will not, and we do not suffer idiots. But those who are truly inquisitive, those who really want to learn, I thought, okay, it might be nice to have such a place. Now, another aspect, too, of the sect is, basically, it comes from Anton LaVey's quote, "They play the devil's game, but they won't take the devil's name." And what he's talking about are the New Age pagans and white witches and so on and so forth, modern druids. The reason why that aspect came up is because I used to live on a winery in Northern California, just north of the Napa Valley. I was the caretaker of the winery. I also owned a little bookstore. I also put on events. We put on a metal festival. We put on a Renaissance fair. We would have, let's say, mini concerts with people who played, like jazz or blues or whatever. We had many different events. And we also put on a pagan festival. Now, the people at the festival, they were fine, they were friendly, they weren't a problem. But that festival, those individuals, they lacked an edge. So I made sure at that festival there was a lounge, if you will. It was called the Left Hand Lounge, where people with, let's say, a darker aesthetic, a darker soul, if you will, could go and communicate with one another while this festival was going on. Now, that was in 2011. That first festival took place, and it was on November 1st, 2011, that we started the organization, the Sect of the Horn God. And also, and I've stated this before, I wanted to, because of the fact that these people had a neutered interpretation of what the Horn God was, what let's say, witchcraft or pagan practices are. I felt it necessary to return the testicles of the Horn God to him, if you will. Now, within the organization, within the sect, I do not expect people to always get along. because we're not. We're individualists. Everyone on the path, hopefully, is. And we're going to have different, let's say, different views of different philosophical or spiritual or mystical or magical topics, if you will. Like, for instance, there's one colleague of mine and also an important member of the sect who has a different interpretation of the Eastern left-hand path than I do. And then another close associate who has a different interpretation of the path concerning a middle path. I don't think there can be a middle path. I think the gravitational pull of the right-hand path is too great. And when you're on the left-hand path, you're walking a tightrope. And if you fall, you're not going to fall onto the left-hand path. You're going to fall onto the right-hand path. Like I said, that gravitational pull is too great. Now, people tend to, because a lot of us on this path are bullheaded, we tend to get very opinionated. And for me, that's getting a bit dogmatic, if you will. That would be like being on that tightrope that I described and just standing there. And what happens if you stand too long on a tightrope? Eventually, you're going to fall. You need to get going, because that's what a path is. You are going down a path. You're constantly learning. You're constantly bringing in new information. You're building on the old, if you will, to create something new. You have a goal, a very distinct, specific goal, and that is self-deification. You becoming your own God, in a sense. Now, we will argue, we will have differences, but it's important within this organization that we stay civil. In conclusion, my friends, even though we may not agree on everything, certain specifics, if you will, we do agree on the greater, the wider, the more significant aspects. And this is important. There aren't many of us out there. Those on the right-hand path outnumber us at least 1,000 to 1, maybe 10,000 to 1. So maybe a little cooperation would be a good thing, because you never know when you might fall off that tightrope. And if you do, you better hope you land in a net. Until next time.